Hello, day 11 of the reflective tarot reads, and that's a week and a half. Can't believe 11 days have gone already. It's Netzach of Gevurah, so it's the 7th and the 5th Sephiroth, opposite sides of the Tree of Life. As usual, if you enjoy, please like, please subscribe and share with anyone else you think would enjoy or benefit from it. Today we're looking at Netzach. By now you'll know Gevurah from the other videos, the lovely Saturnian energy, the container into which everything flows for us. Netzach is more about willpower, fortitude, focused energy, determination. It's about mastery and victory. So it's kind of your outward facing energy, the energy that's coming in. The opposite to the tree that it needs to balance off with is Hod, which is more the submission, the feminine receptive surrender and submission, but they're balanced together below the heart. So yeah, so we have the 7th. So we could look at Netzach of Gevurah as like the endurance and persistence to be disciplined, Gevurah, to walk a path, the 5 of Cups. But when we look at these cups, we see they could actually represent a stuckness in this balanced energy. So the 5 of Cups, Gevurah, he could be stuck, as we've said, in the past, you know, so he's emotionally fixated on the past. He's looking towards the future, but it's obviously clouded. They're both dressed in black, so we could kind of be talking about fears, you know, fear of the past, fears that have arisen from the past, and that's fears of the future, of what there is going forward. So they're both states that we can really get lost in, you know, and then lose the sense of the beauty of the present moment. If we're stuck in the past or the future, that's what happens. We miss what's going on in the present moment. So we can be deluded about our future, the 7 Netzach, because it's your outward ego, by either being kind of expecting the worst, you know, expecting the worst, or it can be an really inflated ego, you know, and delusions of grandeur. So we can look at the ego as being kind of ego issues going inward in sense of lack of self-worth or outwardly, but basically the common denominator looking at Netzach is the ego's in the driving seat, you know, whether it's a sense of self-worth, a low sense of esteem, or it's an inflated sense of who you are. Either is not a good place to be, really. So yeah, that can work out so many ways in the world, and I'll leave it up to you to look at how that has or could potentially work out in you or people around you, you know, reflect on it. But when we're talking about spiritually, put that down, spiritually with Netzach, you know, that really is clouded by illusions, and spiritually, you know, we could have those delusions, yeah, and those delusions, either of grandeur or of the future, could, you know, they'll bring us the tower moment. They'll bring us into the tower moment to correct the balance between Netzach and Hod. when I was in the church many moons ago, you know, I'm talking about 30 odd years ago, there was this kind of clouded delusion that reflects this 5 and this 7 here of cups. And they were talking about, I was in a church that was very evangelical, believed in the gifts of the Spirit, etc. And they kept talking about a new wave of the Spirit, you know, an outpouring, and it was going to bring conversion of masses of people, a revival. But what they were doing, they were looking back and stuck in past events, and they were kind of, there was this delusion of the older people in the church were kind of, oh, we've seen it all before, and you thought they were being stuffy, but actually they were the ones who had the benefit of and wisdom of their age. But what did happen with that was the fact that people were doing all night prayer visuals. There was a static prayer. People became kind of addicted to signs and wonders. You know, they were waiting on prophesying, speaking in tongues. But nothing wrong with all those things. But the bottom line is they were pulled away from their inner work, and they were, more importantly, pulled away. They were exhausted by all that outward flowing energy, and didn't have time for the people they were supposed to be there for, whether it be their families or people out in the community. So that's a kind of my reflection on what happened there, and there's no judgment from me. I was right in the middle of that, you know, waiting for the signs and wonders and this mass conversion, you know, kind of John Wesley or the Pentecostals. It was that kind of thing. So, but I'm really aware that we can be caught in it, you know, and I see it in many spiritual circles now. It's just dressed in different clothes. It's that same kind of delusion. And the other thing that it brought is kind of a competitiveness, which is like, you know, I can prophesy better than you, which is inane, really. And again, in spiritual circles, you can see this going on, where people are competing to be the most loving, the most, you know, light, the one who's getting the most messages channeled, etc., etc. So we can all be subject to it. We just got to make sure we're balancing, you know, all things. There needs to be that kind of check and balances in us. Otherwise, we'll go off on the wrong path. We'll get the tower moment. And actually, that discipline, which is your Gevurah, the discipline of spiritual practice, you know, your quiet time, your meditation, your ritual, your times with the tarot, whatever you do, your times out in nature, you know, that is the discipline of Gevurah. It's a container for the bliss and beauty that comes down from Hesed, you know, through Netzach and Hod. It is actually a discipline that is going to bring a bliss and a beauty and a depth to us, complete depth to us. So we need to be sure what we're projecting out in any way, whether it's spiritually or in our everyday life. We need to be sure what we're projecting out through Netzach isn't illusion. Yeah, so, you know, this Hesed, the outpouring of source, divine, the path from Netzach to Hesed, in fact, is a path of death. Oh no, sorry, got it wrong. Path of Netzach to Tiferet, to the heart. The path to the heart is death. So it's that death of those illusions, you know, either thinking you're not good enough, or you're you know, you've got a delusion about what the future's going to hold. You know, you're going to be a you're destined to be an ascended master or some great mystic, whatever that delusion is. Or the opposite, you know, I can't step out because I'm not worthy, I don't know enough. But the path to the heart is that death of that. We are actually complete articles. We're just getting rid of all these illusions, whether it's fears, whatever it is, they're being removed so that we can truly be who we are already. It's that removing the marble that Michelangelo done. The angel's there, we're actually encapsulated in it. And the wheel is from Netzach to the overflowing love. That's the cycles. That's the you know, the cycles of life, the bigger cycles, the Russian doll I talked about, all the cosmic cycles, the cycles of nature. We need to have a balanced view of all that, that we're not some huge person responsible for it all who's going to put the world to rights, but we are, you know, integral to each other. Everyone has their place, their gift, and it's about finding where you fit in those greater cycles. The Tower is the card that sits between Netzach and Hod, so it's a balancer. It's a balancer of surrender and outward going. So I hope that makes some sense to you. Our oracle card today from the Heroes deck is you are invited. Suit up, show up and open up. And it's on the Hero's journey, it's stage 2, the call to adventure. So it says in there, never forget that life can be nobly inspired and rightly lived if you take it bravely and gallantly as a splendid adventure in which you're setting out into an unknown country. It is unknown territory. To meet many a joy, to find many a comrade, to win and lose many battles. Cycles of life, Tower moments, death of dreams. They're losses, but we also win many battles. We find who we are. But you don't have to weigh all the pros and cons or create a cost-benefit analysis, that kind of worrying about the future. You know, the Netzach, you know, being in an illusion of the future or getting stuck in it's always gone wrong, I can't do it. So instead, leap. Build your wings as you go and trust that even if you fall, you'll be falling forward. So yeah, that's that. You know, there are things outside of our control. They're those, you know, that big wheel that is constantly turning. But if we don't jump and express who we truly are, we're not living a full life. And equally, if we're trying to project out an egoic illusion of who we are, we're not truly being who we are. And we can fall into both those camps. We all do. We all do. So that's the cards, the reflection. It is the solar plexus, Netzach. So I will pull a card from the solar plexus and see what it brings up for us. Oh, we've got that again. Come up again. Inner strength. Yeah. So in light of this read, it's inner strength to, you know, take the leap and do what your soul is meant to do. It's also the inner strength to have the discipline and the balance of your Netzach and your Hod, submission and outward flowing energy. So inner strength. Knock that down. And then I'll do us a read, final read. see what we've got. Four of Cups. That's Hesed. That's from last week. King of Swords. And the Eight of Pentacles. So they're good cards, yeah. So in light of this read, we've got Hesed, the refusal of the cup, or, you know, the inability to listen to the intuition. Lots said last week about that. King of Swords, you need to be the person who has mastery over the mind and not fall into the delusions. So we're presented with so much information, you know, we need to have mastery of our mind so we can sort through our mental body and understand. And the 8, which relates to Hod, is about the hard work, you know, the discipline of Gevurah. Discipline in the mind, discipline in the emotions, working hard, having mastery. So there we have it. There's our read. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye bye.